Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your AEW Dynamite post-show, man. And there is a lot to talk about in today's episode. We have an AEW World Title match on the line with MJF taking on Rush. We also have Lio Rush in action taking on Mark Briscoe. We'll talk about that in today's episode as well. We also hear from AEW Women's Champion Tekla. We'll talk about that in today's episode as well. We have Andrade in action as well. We have a TNT title matchup between Kevin Knight defending the TNT title against his former tag team partner, Speedball Mike Bailey. We'll talk about that in today's episode as well. We also have another matchup in the Owen Hart Cup Tournament women's bracket. It's Alex Windsor taking on a mystery opponent, and we'll talk about that in today's episode as well. And in the main event, we have another Owen Hart Cup Tournament matchup in the men's bracket where it is Will Ospreay taking on AEW's national champion, Mark Davis. And we'll talk about all that in today's episode, man. But let's start off tonight. We have MJF defending the AEW World title against Rush. Now, there was another stipulation added to this matchup where it is not only for the AEW World title, but this matchup also has no countouts. The match itself between Rush and MJF, I thought was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Rush and MJF, with MJF and Rush both exchanging in the middle of the ring. MJF then spits in Rush's face, which I thought was absolutely gross. Rush then chokes MJF with a cable on the outside. Rush then hits a backdrop, sending MJF over the barricade onto the timekeeper's table. Rush then rips off the turnbuckle pad. Rush was trying to keep the pace of the match, but MJF sends Rush headfirst into the exposed turnbuckle. Rush now is busted wide open. MJF then hits a devastating spinebuster on Rush in the middle of the ring. Rush then gets up, sends MJF into the exposed turnbuckle. Rush then follows it up by hitting a running knee on MJF for a near fall. MJF then gets up, hits a powerbomb backbreaker on Rush for a near fall. Followed by that, MJF then applies a Salt of the Earth, but the hold is broken. Rush then hits a headbutt on MJF, followed by a pile driver off the apron. Rush then attacks an AEW doctor after the doctor said both Rush and MJF could no longer compete in this matchup. After that, Rush then hits a running kick into the corner for a near fall. Rush then goes for a running kick once again, but missed and went through the barricade. MJF then capitalizes on this by hitting a tombstone pile driver on a piece of the broken barricade. MJF then goes for a heat seeker, but Rush counters. Rush then goes for a drop kick off the top, but missed. MJF then applies a crossface. Rush then laughs and flips off MJF as he passes out. Referee sounds for the bell, and your winner of the match, and still AEW champion, is MJF. After the match, MJF was going to attack Rush. Mark Briscoe was here. MJF ends up hitting a low blow on Briscoe. MJF was going to hit Briscoe with the AEW title, but the conglomeration come out to the ring to save Mark Briscoe. Couple of things I want to talk about with this match, man. Number one, was I against this match? Not entirely. You know, my thing is, it was a solid match. I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't a solid match, but I do have some issues with this matchup. Number one, and call me crazy, I'm just an old school fan. The world title for your company should be one of the most important pieces of your company, meaning that it should be the vocal point of your show. If you're going to defend the world title for your respected company, I don't give a shit if it's for AEW or WWE or New Japan or TNA or MLW or AAA or CMML. That title represents that entire company, number one. Number two, I don't understand how this is opening the card. Why is MJF not defending the AEW World title against Rush in the main event? Being that MJF has made it predominantly known that this is the most prestigious prize in all of professional wrestling with the Triple B, the AEW World title. Why are we having MJF kick off the show last night defending the AEW World title? So that was my other issue. Well, my first issue. My second issue is Rush. Look, man, I respect the hell out of Rush. I think Rush is a great talent. But there is no way in hell that you can convince me that Rush earned this title shot. And what I mean by that is Roosh, for the past few weeks, man, has literally faced off against jobber and enhancement talent. He's not facing against top talent like a Kenny Omega or Swerve or, Andrade. None of these top guys right now that are like literally, salivating at the fact of getting an opportunity against MJF for the AEW World title. Roosh has not faced one of these guys to really claim himself as the number one contender for the AEW World title. Instead, Roosh has faced jobber or enhancement talent for that matter and glorified squash matches to grant him an opportunity at the AEW World title. Now, some people could say, oh, well, what about that Fatal 4-Way that they just had, last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it might have been last week. The TBS Superstation Fatal 4-Way or whatever the hell it was called, where he faced off against Lio Rush and Brody King, and there was another I think it was Brian Cage as well. Well, they're top contenders. I'm going to be honest, man, there ain't a single goddamn person in that Fatal 4-Way to me that is a solid contender for the AEW World title. Sure as hell ain't Brian Cage, because Brian Cage just came back from a lengthy injury. I mean, he literally just came back. Brian Cage was on the shelf for probably over a year. You're not going to sit here and convince me either that Lio Rush is a top contender. I'm sorry. No way in hell. And I think Orange Cassidy was the other person involved in this matchup as well. And look, Orange Cassidy's, he's great and all, but I don't see him as a number one contender for the AEW World title. I just don't. So Roosh got the win in that Fatal 4-Way, which I guess seemingly granted him an opportunity at MJF's World title because he called his shot after he won that match. Look, for Roosh, I think the biggest question coming out of this matchup here between Roosh and MJF is what is next for Roosh. Where does Roosh go from here? It's either going to be one or two things, bro. Roosh is either going to go back in the line, and we're hardly going to see Roosh again on AEW television, or Tony Khan is going to take Roosh and move him back to Ring of Honor. I honestly, I genuinely believe that they don't really have an idea, nor a plan for that matter, for Roosh. And unfortunately, there's a lot of guys on this roster where they're great talents, but carrying Dynamite or AEW for that matter on their back, I just don't see it. I said the same thing about Brody King, which was very subjective to a lot of people. It pissed a lot of people off. I said the same thing about Mark Briscoe, which we'll also talk about in today's episode as well. I don't see these individuals, even though they are great talents, being guys that is going to carry AEW on their back. I just don't see it. I just don't. Not taking anything away from what they can do in the ring. I think they're great talents. Absolutely. But do I see them being at the head of the card, being in the main event of pay-per-views on a consistent basis and carrying the AEW World title? No, I do not. I just don't. And again, I'm hoping that this thing with MJF is not going to be open challenges every fucking week, because everybody seemingly is calling their fucking shot every single week. I mean, hell, we went through this shit with Darby Allin for several weeks. It was the only way they knew how to put Darby Allin over. Rather than telling a fucking story, it was, okay, well, we're going to have Darby Allin beat MJF in Everett, Washington, and have Darby Allin just defend the belt on a weekly, consistent basis on AEW Dynamite. To a point where, I guess the storyline in itself was Darby Allin getting tired after all the title defenses that he had against opponents seemingly that haven't even earned a fucking title shot. And I think that whole idea with Darby being AEW World Champion would turn into a goddamn dumpster fire, to be honest with you. I told you guys, man, MJF was the guy that was keeping the lights on for this company. The company runs better and smoother, in my opinion, with MJF being at the top of the card. Everybody's chasing after MJF. MJF, he's great in the ring. He has a great promo. I mean, he is the top of the card, man. He's a day one guy. He's a pillar of this company. And he knows how to carry this company into the future. I don't have a lot of faith in guys like Brody King or Briscoe or even Darby Allin, for this matter, at this point. I just don't. So, again, hats off to MJF. And I look forward to what's going to happen next to Roosh. And speaking of Mark Briscoe, we get into our next matchup. It's Lio Rush taking on Mark Briscoe. Now, I thought this was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup here between Roosh and Briscoe, with Briscoe hitting an enziguri on Lio Rush. Lio Rush and Briscoe both exchange on the apron, with Briscoe hitting a blockbuster on Lio Rush off the apron. Lio Rush, though, was trying to keep the pace of the match. Lio hits a tope to the outside, taking out Briscoe, followed by a springboard stunner for a near fall. Rush then hits an enziguri, but Briscoe hits a cutthroat driver on Lio Rush, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Mark Briscoe. After the match, Briscoe grabs a microphone. He talks about his brother Jay passing away. Briscoe also talks about debuting for AEW alone without his brother. Briscoe says that AEW might have saved his life. He mentions the conglomeration and the friends that he made with the conglomeration. He also says that after finding the conglomeration, he found the joy of wrestling again. Mark says that he never hated anyone more than MJF. Briscoe then mentions beating MJF in a tables and tacks match. And then Mark Briscoe calls his shot for an AEW World title. Look, man, I told you guys how I felt about Briscoe, man, as far as what he does in the ring, what he's done in AEW, what he's done in his career so far. I still believe till this day that the Briscoes are one of the most underrated tag teams of all time, in my opinion. I mean, those guys were literally the epicenter of what Ring of Honor is all about. These guys were multi-time Ring of Honor tag team champions, future Hall of Famers, in my honest opinion. And, credit Jay and Mark when they were a tag team and they were together. They didn't really have a lot of singles matches because the Briscoes were just, a tag team that was just immensely over, especially with the Ring of Honor fan base. Man, they are Ring of Honor, hands down. I think my issue with Mark Briscoe is, you're talking about, okay, well, you beat MJF in a tables and tacks match that literally happened about a goddamn year ago. You were out with injury, man. You were out. You came back recently. You just had a matchup with Tommaso Ciampa because I think Ciampa put you on the shelf. You beat Ciampa. Ciampa's not a number one contender guy. He's not. Jericho's going, as far as I'm concerned, Ciampa's going after Jericho. And Jericho's nowhere near a title shot right now. He just came back. I respect the hell out of Briscoe, man. I do. I think the Briscoes were a great tag team. I think Mark's a great wrestler. He's good on the microphone. I just don't see Mark Briscoe being a top guy. I just don't. Call me crazy. I know it's subjective. Maybe a little controversial at that as well. But Briscoe, to me, is not a main event guy. He's not a guy that I believe in genuinely that's going to win the AEW World title and carry this company on his back. I do not see it. And you have to understand this too. There was also a time where the powers that be in TBS and Time Warner honestly didn't want to work with Briscoe at all. Neither one of them. There was an issue behind closed doors that prevented the Briscoes to really be competing on AEW television due to some kind of conflict behind closed doors that the Briscoes had with TBS and Time Warner, or comments that were made. I don't think Briscoe, to me, Mark Briscoe is mid-card at best. And I know that's going to be very subjective. I know a lot of people are like, man, are you absolutely insane? No, I'm not. Briscoe, to me, at this very point, at this moment, hasn't done anything to me to actually say, you know what, Briscoe's a top guy. Briscoe, he deserves his title shot. It doesn't resonate with me. It just doesn't. You have all these guys calling their shot for an AEW. I mean, we've heard it for so long, bro. Whether it's when Darby Allin was champion, it was Speedball Mike Bailey, it was Kevin Knight, it was Andrade, it was Roosh, it was Briscoe, hell, Brody King. I mean, dude, it's like you're at the goddamn DMV waiting for your number to be called, man. No one's taking an opportunity to earn their shot at the AEW World title. They're just, hey, I'm going to Tony Khan and I'm lobbying Tony Khan for an opportunity at the AEW World title, bro. What the fuck have you done for an opportunity at the AEW World title? You've done jack shit. You know what I mean? You're over here crying wolf. I mean, hell, Briscoe was like, oh, well, MJ was over here crying and getting all his opportunities, bro. What the fuck you think you've been doing? You have been calling for an AEW World title shot, bro, but you haven't faced a top challenger or top competitor yet to convince me or the fans, for that matter, that you're actually worthy enough to be a number one contender for the AEW World title. All you guys are just calling your shot, man. No one's actually willing to put the time, work, and effort in to actually claim yourself as a number one contender. And I think that's the point where it's starting to get fucking ridiculous with AEW, man. It's like, fucking earn it. Earn it. Get off your asses and work for it. Stop trying to lobby Tony Khan backstage. Hey, Tony, you mind if I get an opportunity at the title? I mean, bro, there's already been rumors of speculation that that's how things work sometimes backstage in AEW. I remember the interview that Chris Statlander had with Chris Van Fleet, where Statlander literally said verbatim that Tony Storm walked up to her one day and said, hey, you know what? I'm giving you a title shot. Not entirely disrespect Stat, but even Stat was confused by what the hell Tony Storm said. She wasn't going to say no, but she knew at that fact that when that happened, she knew that she didn't do anything to earn it or deserve it. There was no storyline built. It was Tony Storm walking backstage and say, hey, you want a title shot? I'm going to give you a title shot. And that's what I feel like right now with the AEW World title, bro. There is no suitable number one contenders right now until we honestly get done with the Owen. And that's for both the men and the women, bro. There is nobody right now on the docket to literally consider themselves a number one contender for MJF's AEW World title. You have a couple guys right now that should be number one contenders. Number one should be Andrade. Andrade has been patiently waiting for an opportunity at the AEW World title. Why are we dragging our feet and not putting Andrade in an opportunity against MJF for the world title? Why? What the fuck is the holdup? You also have Kenny Omega. Again, a top challenger, top competitor, a guy that honestly I think deserves an opportunity against MJF. But I have an idea that I think I know what they're going to do with Kenny Omega. We'll talk about that here at the end of the podcast, but I have a feeling here in the next few months things are going to slowly start shaking up in a drastic way for AEW, and maybe not necessarily in a good way for a lot of the fans. But as far as Briscoe, man, I just, he's a good wrestler, man. I'm not taking anything away from the athletic ability that Mark does in the ring. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's good on the microphone. I just don't see him being a top guy that's going to carry this company on his back. I just don't. I mean, Christ, bro, how many times... And you can't sit here and tell me that, oh, yeah, you're wrong, bro. How? Because how many times have we seen Mark Briscoe in a Continental Classic tournament and taken out? Hell, to a point, I think it was one of the Continental Classic tournaments that he was in, and the guy didn't even get a fucking win. Or maybe he got one win out of a round-robin tournament. So clearly AEW and Tony Khan don't have a lot of faith in Mark Briscoe either, or the powers that be, being Tony Khan and his elaborate writing team, really don't see Mark Briscoe in that spot as a top guy in AEW. Mark Briscoe is mid-card at best in AEW. I'm sorry. He wants to go over to Ring of Honor and honestly, for what it's worth, I think Briscoe going over to Ring of Honor, having a match for the Ring of Honor World Championship and becoming Ring of Honor World Champion might be the best thing, not only for Ring of Honor, but for Mark Briscoe. Briscoe made a name for himself in Ring of Honor. Him being Ring of Honor World Champion, not against it at all. He doesn't need to be on AEW television, man. You can have Briscoe run roughshod on Ring of Honor. Absolutely. I mean, Christ, bro, how many people have been patiently waiting to see Athena be a part of AEW Dynamite? She has been over in Ring of Honor, and according to most people, Athena's having a blast over in Ring of Honor. She has held the Ring of Honor's Women's Champion now for over 1,000 days or some shit, and she's loving life over at Ring of Honor, man. So I think for Briscoe, same thing with Roosh. Go back to Ring of Honor. Why not? I don't need to see Mark Briscoe in an AEW World title match or be an AEW World Champion. I just don't need to see it. I'm sorry, man. Mark Briscoe is mid-card at best when it pertains to AEW, in my honest opinion. Might be a hot take, might be very subjective for a lot of people. I just don't see it, man. I just don't. And you cannot sit here and convince me that Mark Briscoe has done enough to be the number one contender for the AEW World title, because in my opinion, Briscoe has not done shit. You can't sit here and tell me with a matchup against Ciampa and you just beating Leo Rush get you an opportunity of being a new number one contender for the AEW World title, man. It don't. I'm sorry. No. Absolutely not. But moving on from that, we hear from AEW Women's Champion Tekla. Tekla's walking through the crowd with Julia Hart and Sky Blue, the Triangle of Madness. Tekla has a microphone. She mentions Stardom. Tekla mentions her time in Japan, and she also mentions that she got fired working in Japan. Tekla then mentions if anyone came to AEW from Stardom, she was going to burn Stardom to the ground. Tekla then says she's not declaring war on Stardom, but she is declaring death for Stardom. Some interesting stuff there between Tekla and a little situation here between herself and Stardom. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's Andrade taking on a jobber. This was a glorified squash match with Andrade keeping the pace. Andrade hits a spinning back elbow, followed by Andrade hitting the finish. Pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Andrade. Hats off to Andrade for getting the win in this matchup. After the match, though, Andrade grabs a microphone and says he wants the AEW World title. So does everybody else, Andrade. Andrade then talks about MJF beating Roosh. Andrade asked MJF, do you think you can beat me? After this, Don Callis is here. Don gives congratulations to Andrade, but Don says he has a huge announcement to make. Don Callis announces the newest member to the Don Callis family, and that member is none other than TNT champion Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight comes out to the ring and celebrates with Don Callis and the Don Callis family. Moving on from that, speaking of Kevin Knight, we have a TNT title matchup. It is Kevin Knight defending the TNT title against Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, I thought this was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup here between Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, with Kevin Knight keeping the pace of the match. Bailey hits a springboard corkscrew to the outside, taking out Kevin Knight. Knight then hits a suplex, followed by Bailey hitting a spin kick, taking out Kevin Knight. After that, Kevin Knight then hits a springboard lariat, but Bailey hits a moonsault knee drop, landing on Kevin Knight. Bailey then follows it up by hitting a spin kick, but Kevin Knight gets up, hits a Hurricane Rana off the top rope, taking out Bailey. Jake Doyle, who was here, distracts the referee. Callis attacks Bailey. This allowed Kevin Knight to hit a devastating choke slam on Mike Bailey in the middle of the ring. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still TNT champion, is Kevin Knight. After the match, Kevin Knight grabs a microphone, says, now that's how you do it. Knight says that Bailey held the jet down while he's been in AEW so far. Knight says that he's here to go to the top and wants the AEW World title. I tell you, Kevin Knight, that line goes around the block for the AEW World title, man. A lot of people want that opportunity for the AEW World title. And moving on from that, we have the Owen Hart Cup Tournament Women's Bracket matchup. It is Alex Windsor taking on a mystery opponent. Alex Windsor comes out to the ring. She's waiting to see who this opponent is, and this opponent is none other than the return of Mercedes Moné. The match itself between Moné and Windsor was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Windsor and Moné, with Windsor keeping the pace of the match. Moné then applies a crossface on Windsor, but the hold is broken. Moné then follows it up by hitting a Meteora off the apron, followed by a Three Amigos. Windsor then tries to get some offense in by hitting a senton off the apron, taking out Moné. Moné then hits a Meteora for a near fall, and then Moné applies her signature statement maker on Alex Windsor. Referee sounds for the bell, and your winner of the match, and moving on in the Owen Hart Cup Tournament Women's Bracket, is Mercedes Moné. Hats off to Mercedes Moné for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that, we have an Owen Hart Cup Tournament matchup in the men's bracket. It's Will Ospreay taking on AEW National Champion Mark Davis. Now, I thought this was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Ospreay and Davis, with Ospreay keeping the pace of the match. Ospreay hits an enziguri on Davis, followed by a handspring Pele kick, taking out Davis. Ospreay then hits a springboard forearm for a near fall. Ospreay follows it up by hitting a Hurricane Rana to the outside on Davis. Davis gets up, tries to get some offense in by hitting a release suplex, sending Ospreay onto the announce table. Davis then follows it up by hitting a superplex. Davis then launches Ospreay across the ring, but Ospreay gets up, hits an enziguri, followed by a Pele kick. And then Ospreay applies an armbar on Davis, but the hold is broken. Davis then hits a pile driver for a near fall. Davis then goes for a power bomb on the apron on Ospreay, but Ospreay counters it with a Hurricane Rana off the apron. Ospreay then hits a Styles Clash in the middle of the ring for a near fall, but Davis then gets up, goes for an enziguri, and accidentally takes out the referee. Ospreay then hits a hidden blade, but the Don Callis family are here. The Don Callis family then attack Ospreay. The Death Riders are here. They attack the Don Callis family. This allowed Ospreay to hit an Oscutter for a near fall on Davis. Doyle then attacks everyone. Marina Shafir attacks Doyle, but Doyle throws Marina to the ground. After this, Moxley enters the ring. He attacks Doyle and ends up hitting a paradigm shift on Doyle in the middle of the ring. After this, everybody clears out, but Kyle Fletcher is here. Fletcher then hits a half and half on Ospreay, and Fletcher then takes out a screwdriver. But Takesha's here. Takesha attacks Fletcher. Davis has a screwdriver, but Ospreay hits a hidden blade, knocking the screwdriver out of Davis's hand. Ospreay then hits another hidden blade for a near fall. Davis then hits a pile driver for a near fall. But Ospreay gets up, applies a death ground on Mark Davis. Referee sounds for the bell. And your winner of the match and moving on in the Owen Hart Cup tournament is Will Ospreay. Hats off to Will Ospreay for getting the win in this matchup. Couple of things I'm going to talk about when it pertains to AEW Dynamite, man, before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, I do apologize, man, for the coughing. I'm still dealing with the cold for some reason, and it's just kicking my ass. As far as AEW, man, I told you guys how I felt about the main event. I feel like if you're a champion for your respected brand, you should be in the main event, especially if you're defending the AEW World Title. Call me crazy. That's just my old school mind of thinking. We look at the main event between Mark Davis and Will Ospreay. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a bullshit match. It was a great match. It was a definitely overbooked match, I'll say that. But it was a good match nonetheless. I'm not understanding how we couldn't have flipped this match up here and had Ospreay Davis to open the show and had MJF and Roosh in the main event. Honestly, I don't think it would have hurt AEW at all. You know, obviously I know the NBA Finals are going on right now between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs, so a lot of people are obviously going to watch the NBA Finals, especially considering the fact that this is the first time the Knicks have been in the NBA Finals in over 20-some-odd years. So obviously everybody's going to watch the New York Knicks taking on the San Antonio Spurs, man, because if you're a Knicks fan, this is something that you've been waiting for over 20 goddamn years. So yeah, a lot of fans of sports were watching the NBA Finals because of what it means, especially if you're a New York basketball fan, man. Again, this is the first time in over 20-some-odd years that the New York Knicks are in the NBA Finals. So, yeah, obviously, a lot of people's attention is going to be on the NBA Finals. And some people could say, well, maybe MJF or Tony Khan decided to put MJF on the beginning of the show because of what's going on over in the NBA Finals. To me, I think that's a dumbass decision to make. You knew damn well that this matchup between Ospreay and Davis was going to be overbooked into all hell breaking loose. You had the Don Callis family out there. You had the Death Riders out there. All kinds of crazy shit going on. You could have had that opening up the card. It had MJF and Roosh in the main event. Now, I don't know if that was by design. I don't know if MJF told Tony Khan, hey, I'm starting the show. I'm going to have my match. I'm going to pack my shit and get the fuck up out of here. I don't know. But to me, if you're a champion for that respected brand or that respected promotion and you're defending that title, you should be main eventing that show. I'm sorry. That's just my old school mind of thinking, and it's never going to change. I'm sorry. If you're telling the world that this is the most prestigious prize in all professional wrestling, then you're having a match in the beginning of the show? Come on, bro. If this is the most prestigious prize in all professional wrestling, then that title should be defended in the main event of AEW Dynamite, not kicking off the goddamn show. You know, and I vented my frustrations with the MJF and Roosh match. Look, man, I respect the hell out of Roosh, but you can't sit here and tell me to my face that Roosh has done enough to grant himself an opportunity at the AEW World Title when all the guy has done has gotten wins over jobbers or enhancement talents. Meaning that these people that Roosh is beating are not even signed to a contract to AEW. They're there for a one-off. They're there literally to get their ass beat to make Roosh look good. That's it. Some people say, well, at least Roosh is on Dynamite and they're showcasing him. Yeah, beating fucking jobbers. How is that supposed to convince me that he's a number one contender when he's fighting guys and beating guys in under 2 minutes that are not even tied to the roster? I'd rather see Roosh. If Roosh can go into the ring and beat someone like Swerve in under 5 minutes, then hell yeah, you convince me enough that Roosh is a top guy and he should be number one contender. But you're not going up against guys like Swerve. And Swerve's in the Owen. There's nobody left on the table right now for anybody to really consider themselves a number one contender. You have guys that are out. You have Adam Page out. You got Jay White out. Adam Page, we don't know when the hell Adam Page is coming back. And Adam Page, according to storyline, can't even challenge for the AEW World Title anymore. Page is out. Cole is out. Jay White's out. So again, it's hard to build or find decent matches to be top contenders. Andrade has been patiently waiting for an AEW World Title opportunity. Who knows when we'll get that? If I had to guess, if MJF is going to hold the belt a little bit longer until we get to at least a little bit at the beginning of August, then we'll have Andrade versus MJF at Grand Slam Mexico. Be a hell of a match, hell of a main event. But that's if MJF holds the title till then. And what I mean by that is this. There are some rumors and there are some speculations out there floating around in the wrestling community that MJF might drop the belt in July. There's rumors that MJF will be defending that AEW World title against Kenny Omega in Canada at AEW's newest pay-per-view, Retribution, or whatever the hell it's called. And the rumor is that Kenny Omega is going to beat MJF, and Kenny Omega is going to be AEW World Champion going into Wembley, and Ospreay is going to win the Owen, and we're going to get Ospreay versus Kenny Omega at this year's All In, where Ospreay becomes a new AEW World Champion in Wembley, in London. That's the rumor. I'm going to be honest. Look, man, I respect the hell out of Kenny Omega, man. I think he's one of the greatest of all time, as well as Will Ospreay. Do I want to see Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay at All In? No. I don't. And the reason why that is that you can't sit here and tell me that you got the biggest event of the year for this company and not put a guy like MJF in the main event. I'm sorry. To me, the better match to make would be MJF versus Will Ospreay for the AEW World title. And Ospreay beats MJF at Wembley. In my opinion. I respect Omega, man. Don't get me wrong. And I know Kenny Omega wants an opportunity back at the AEW World title. I get it. But to me, I'd rather see MJF versus Will Ospreay. And right now, on paper, the way things are stacking up in the men's bracket in the Owen, the semifinals should be Ospreay Swerve at Forbidden Door. Ospreay beats Swerve, Ospreay moves on to Wembley, and Ospreay faces the AEW World Champion, whether that's MJF or Kenny Omega. Now, do I want it to be Kenny Omega? Absolutely not. But with this newest pay-per-view, I believe it's called Retribution, if I'm not mistaken, in July in Canada, a lot of people are pointing the finger that Kenny Omega will face off against MJF, and Kenny Omega will beat MJF for the AEW World title, and Omega will take that belt into Wembley Stadium at All In, and he will defend that title against Will Ospreay in the main event at this year's All In. I'm not with it, man. I'm not. I'm sorry. To me, MJF versus Ospreay is the match to make. MJF is the biggest star of this company. And you were sitting there and contemplating the fact that you might not even put this guy on the card or in the main event defending the AEW World title. I mean, hell, there's already rumors on the possibility of MJF versus Mick Foley in a match at All In. Look, I respect the hell out of MJF, and I damn sure respect the hell out of Mick Foley, but look, man, I don't know about a matchup at Wembley. Personally, honestly, I'd rather see a matchup between Moxley and Foley. And some kind of hardcore element that's not going to be so devastating on Mick, and then Mick can really, handle his own and have a hell of a match with Moxley, because Moxley has that hardcore type element usually 9 times out of 10 when he wrestles. And Foley, we all know that Foley is a hardcore legend in all professional wrestling, so I would love to see a program there between Moxley and Foley, especially if Foley's going to only have one match left. I'd rather it be Moxley and Foley than Moxley and than MJF and Foley. Honestly, I think Moxley and Foley would tear the house down, in my honest opinion. I'm not sitting here saying do a barbed wire death match or an exploding barbed wire match. We all saw how disastrous that shit was when they had that barbed wire death match and you had the goddamn sparklers going off in the corner. Then you had the hardcore legend himself, Onita from FMW, and all the crazy shit that he did back in FMW, watching this shit, and you see sparklers and shit go off in the corners. Man, it was absolutely fucking embarrassing. Especially to a guy named Onita, who ran a promotion in Japan that literally put on exploding ring matches that literally would explode all over the goddamn place, and was known for a severe hardcore type element to their matches. It was a slap in the face to Onita, man. I'm sorry. Again, we're talking about another promotion that had one of my all-time favorites, Hayabusa, rest in peace, put on incredible matches against Onita, Mike Awesome, and was in those hardcore type elements in those matches. I mean, hell, he had one of those exploding steel cage matches with Onita that is legendary over in Japan for FMW. So if I was going to book Foley's last match, I would at least contemplate maybe entertaining the idea of booking Foley versus Moxley in some kind of hardcore element in AEW, whether it's a street fight or a hardcore matchup, what the hell ever. But that's what I would do. I wouldn't book MJF versus Foley at All In. I'm sorry. So yeah, I had an issue with that. Roosh, I already explained my situation with the Roosh shit. And I talked about Briscoe, and I know a lot of people are like, man, you're really, you're hating on Briscoe. I'm not hating on Briscoe, man. I think Briscoe is a severely underrated talent. I'm not sitting here saying that he's not a good wrestler or good on the microphone. It just, in my opinion, as a fan, I don't see him being a main event guy that's going to carry AEW for the next 10 years, or a guy that's going to carry AEW on his back, or have some elaborate AEW title run. I just do not see it. And yeah, maybe it's my own fault, but it's not like AEW is convincing me that Mark Briscoe is a top guy when you barely use this guy, number one. You put him in more matches on Collision than you do on Dynamite. He's tied to conglomeration, which really ain't doing jack shit. And B, he's been out with injury. He came back, he faced against Ciampa, and now he's facing against Lio Rush, and I'm supposed to convince myself that this guy's number one contender when he's facing guys that are not even in the conversation, for that matter, to be top guys for the AEW World title? No. You're not going to sit here and convince me that Lio Rush is a top contender for the AEW World title right now. You can't. Just like you can't convince me, even though I'm a big fan, you can't convince me that Tommaso Ciampa is a top guy right now going after the AEW World title, because he's not. Ciampa's going after Jericho, for Christ's sake. And the only thing that's over right now for Lio Rush is his character, because Lio Rush is getting his ass kicked on a weekly basis. The only thing that's keeping Lio Rush relevant at this point is the character change that he has, and now he's more of a sinister Lio Rush. He's got the red eyes, the way he, jogs around the ring or whatever the hell he does, that ring walk that he does where he chases you around. That's pretty much about it. If Lio Rush didn't do the character change, I don't think anybody would give a rat's ass about Lio Rush. Or Crew, for that matter. Where the hell's Action Andretti? He's out with injury? You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody knows what the fuck's going on, man. And I'm supposed to be convinced that, these are top guys, and Briscoe's facing off against top guys to give himself an opportunity to be in the conversation for an AEW World title. Here's the other fucking thing. If Briscoe wanted an AEW title shot, then why is Mark Briscoe not in the Owen? Answer me that question. Why is Briscoe not in the Owen? Facing off against guys like Swerve or Brody King or Bandito or Swerve or Ospreay or Mark Davis or Jack Perry or whatever the hell have you. Hell, you could have took out Jack Perry and put in Mark Briscoe. If you really wanted to get yourself an opportunity for an AEW World title, the only reason why you put Jack Perry in the tournament was because you want to run it back with Jack Perry and Mark Davis, because Perry used to be a former AEW National Champion, and now Mark Davis is the AEW National Champion, which, by the way, Davis ain't doing shit with that title. So again, bro, convince me otherwise that Mark Briscoe is a top contender right now for the AEW fucking World title. You can't. You can't. I said the same shit about Roosh, and I'm going to say the same shit about Mark Briscoe. Roosh and Briscoe should pack their shit and go over to Ring of Honor. Let Briscoe become Ring of Honor World Champion. Because I think if Briscoe did that, he could put that company on his back, because he made a name for himself wrestling with his brother as a tag team as the Briscoes, and they made a name for themselves working for Ring of Honor. Tony Khan, we're trying to get Ring of Honor a TV deal. Well, let's maybe add Briscoe as the Ring of Honor World Champion. Something. You want championship gold around Briscoe's race, then send him over to Ring of Honor. Same thing with Roosh. Roosh is a former Ring of Honor World Champion. Send him over to Ring of Honor. You know what I'm saying, bro? I don't see how these guys are top guys, man. You can't convince me that these guys are number one contenders for the AEW World title. You can't. There was one good thing I think that came out of the show last night, and that was Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight, I praise Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight is the future of this company for the next 10, 15 years. This guy is the future. So when they announced that, Don Callis was, bringing in a new member, the first thing that popped in my head, this is going to be Kevin Knight. Why not? He's a heel. Don Callis' family is a heel stable that stayed a heel. It's not like the Death Riders with John Moxley playing a babyface and everybody else is a heel. And nobody knows what the fuck's going on with the Death Riders. We all know that Don Callis' family are a heel stable. And Kevin Knight's a heel. And, let's keep it real, man. The Don Callis family alone have been a part of some of the biggest matches so far in all of AEW since it's come to fruition as a stable. Okada and Takeshita just had a hell of a match at Double or Nothing. a banger match. Kyle Fletcher in his TNT title run. He puts on banger matches. You know what I mean? Now you got Kevin Knight. Again, puts on solid matches. You can't hate him for it. You can't. You know what I mean? Mark Davis and Doyle, when they were a tag team. Before Doyle got injured, they looked like a predominant force in the AEW tag team division. Christ, Davis is an AEW national champion, even though he ain't doing shit with it. He's still AEW national champion. You got Andrade as well, one of the top guys in this company. You can't blame the Don Callis family, man. They're in some of the most predominant storylines and some of the biggest matches right now in AEW. Hands down. Can't hate on that. I think it's great for Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight to align himself up with Don Callis being a heel. There's going to be a lot of important matches for Kevin Knight in the future. Now, what does this do for Jet Speed? Jet Speed's over. Mike Bailey's on his own. Mike Bailey's going to be in the back of the card. And that's just the way it is. There's more potential they see in Kevin Knight than they do Mike Bailey. I got to say, I agree with them. I'm not trying to take anything away from Mike Bailey. But Kevin Knight, the guy has a bright future. A very bright future in AEW. Absolutely. And I'm glad that Tony Khan is pushing Kevin Knight into the main event scene. Because he deserves it. He's a hell of an athlete. He's a hell of a competitor. And he's trying to do what he can with the TNT title. God bless him for it. God bless him for it. Obviously, the other big elephant in the room as well that I want to talk about with you guys before I get the hell up out of here is we get a return. We get the return of none other than Mercedes Moné. Now, again, I'll also stress this as well. Moné was supposed to return back to AEW for quite some time, man. Her return was imminently for weeks, almost, month or 2 months, that she was supposed to be back in AEW. She finally returns to AEW. I think AEW was actually in Fairfax, Virginia last night, if I'm not mistaken. So, Moné returns. She's the mystery opponent to Alex Windsor in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. She has a little pyro going off, and obviously her theme music had changed. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, man, Moné came out to the crowd to fucking crickets. I don't think anybody gave a rat's ass about Moné coming back in the fold of AEW. But what I will say is this. With Moné being in the Owen Hart Cup tournament, and the fact that she got a win over a opponent that she lost to, I could see Tony Khan being how he is, run this shit back, and I could see Moné winning the Owen again and being the first person in AEW to win the Owen twice. The minute I saw Moné, I was like, you know what? They're going to have Moné win this Owen Hart Cup tournament for the women's bracket. Hell, she already grabbed the goddamn Owen Championship alone and just walked off with it like she already fucking won. So, to me, I just think it's a surefire thing that Moné is definitely going to be in the finals of this tournament and could win it. Just because her track record in AEW. Am I shocked that she's back? No. And the reason why that is because right now you are missing the biggest star in the company right now as far as being in the women's division in AEW, and that is Toni Storm. And she is sorely missed, man. Toni is sorely missed. But she is out. So who do you got left? Well, we're going to bring in another big star here in Mercedes Moné to fill the void of Toni Storm not being here. You know, and maybe Mercedes Moné is going to go after, win the Owen and obviously go after Tekla. Unless Toni Storm somehow miraculously comes back and beats Tekla in a match before we get to All In. And we get Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm 2 at All In. I don't know. All I do know is that All In is their biggest show of the year. So they want to make sure that they have all their stars aligned, if they can, for the biggest show of the year. So we might see Toni Storm come back maybe sometime this month, sometime July, or right before we get to All In, and maybe she comes back. I don't know. We also have some primetime free agents that are going to be free to compete wherever the hell they want here in about roughly 60 days. I know that tag team division in AEW is going to get a major facelift here soon in the next 60 days, with the additions possibly of the Motor City Machine Guns and most notably the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So the tag team division is going to get a major upgrade possibly here in the next 60 days. Kairi Sane's a free agent. Is Kairi Sane coming over to AEW? I don't know. People are still waiting for Dakota Kai. See if she's coming over to AEW. We don't know. But again, it's great to have Moné back. We're going to see how it plays out. Hopefully this is not something where it's going to be rinse and fucking repeat, where Moné is going after all these goddamn titles again, and it's the same old song and fucking dance, because not for nothing, that shit was boring as all hell. And we don't need that with AEW already being boring as it is right now, bro. AEW needs a shot in the arm. Something. I'm not sitting here saying it's bad as SmackDown, but it's not that far off. It's not. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how things play out, man. I just think, in my honest opinion, I was pissed with the opening match. I think if you're an AEW World Champion, you should be in the main event. We saw the Ospreay and Davis match. It was a hell of a match, but it was overbooked to death, man. Holy shit, you had the Don Callis family, the Death Riders, Fletcher, Takesha. There was chaos all over the fucking place. You could have had that opening the show to get fans excited for the rest of the night. Honestly. It had MJF and Rush in the main event. Absolutely. If you're the champion representing that brand and you're defending that title, you should be in the main event. That's just my old school way of thinking, and that it's never going to change. If you are the champion for that respected promotion, you have a match on their TV show, you should be in the main event knowing that you're defending the biggest prize in all that promotion being the AEW World Champion. That's just my opinion. What's next for MJF? I don't know. I know there's a lot of people calling their shot. Briscoe, Kevin Knight, Andrade, just to name a couple, that are calling their shot for the AEW World title. So we're going to see how this plays out. Hopefully this is not going to be something where MJF is defending the title every single goddamn week like Darby Allin did, because that shit got old and it got stale real quick. Let's get some story and let's have some fun. Get the fans excited to watch AEW's product, man. That's all we need. I've been saying it now, Christ, bro, for I don't know how long. AEW needs to go back to what brought them to the dance, and they need to write story. If we get that, then AEW, I have no problems. I got no issues. We just want some story. Something that makes sense, bro. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. Just some story, some logic that makes sense. These guys asking for a title shot like Briscoe and all this other shit, it's not making sense. Let's have some matches against top contenders. You win against those top contenders and earn it. Stop trying to lobby Tony Khan for an opportunity at the AEW World title, man. Fucking earn it. I'm sick and tired of that shit, man. I said the same thing when Brody King was doing that shit, and the guy lost twice. Twice. It's over. Back of the line. And now Brody King's in the Owen. Like I said, if Briscoe won an opportunity at the AEW World title, then why are we not entertaining putting Mark Briscoe in the Owen? Why? What is the purpose of that? Why? Because Briscoe's track record in tournaments are not so great in AEW? Yeah, no shit. No shit. Look, man, I respect the hell out of Briscoe. I do. But I don't see him being a main event. Maybe the main event, one thing. But do I see him being a top guy for this company and carrying the AEW title around and carrying this company on his back? I don't see it. I don't. I respect the hell out of Briscoes, man. I think they were a great tag team. But I think if Briscoe wants championship gold, maybe he needs to go back over to Ring of Honor. I'm sorry. I don't need to see this guy AEW World Champion. I don't. And in my opinion, you have not done anything, in my opinion, right now up to this point to earn an opportunity in a rematch against MJF. Oh, well, he beat MJF in a tables and tax match. That was last year. Last year. You want to run something back from last year to now. Come on, folks. Come on. Here we are, we're in June. You know what I mean? By the time those guys faced off, it's been almost a year ago. 8-9 months ago? Come on, man. Come on. You had plenty of opportunities to face off against MJF. And you're going off a rematch and a tables and tax match, man? Come on, bro. Come on. You got to earn it, man. You got to earn it. Stop trying to lobby people and get, I'm Mark Briscoe. Yeah, I get who you are, bro. I get it. And I respect what you do, and I respect what you've done in this business. Absolutely. You and your brother, phenomenal tag team, and rest in peace to the late great Jay Briscoe. Absolutely. Jay was a phenomenal talent. Rest in peace to the late great Jay Briscoe. But at the end of the day, I don't see Mark Briscoe being a top guy for AEW. And I don't think Tony Khan sees the same thing for Mark Briscoe either. I just don't. Mid-card at best. And I don't need to see Mark Briscoe AEW World Champion, man. I just don't need to see it. It's just my opinion. I think we need a change. I think we need to start building number one contenders and having these wrestlers face off against top challengers and win some matches that are convincing enough for fans to believe, hey, this guy should be the number one contender for the AEW World title, because right now we have not gotten that in quite some time. They're a hot potato in this championship like you would not believe. MJF, Darby to MJF. Possibility of MJF to Kenny Omega here within the next month. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck are we doing here? We can't have a solid title run? Solid competitors and challengers and number one contenders to face off against MJF? No, we're just, throwing the title out to anybody that asks for it. Let's build a number one contender to have the fans believe that this guy could beat the AEW World Champion, not someone just asking Tony Khan, hey, you mind if I get an opportunity at the title? Yeah, sure, why the hell not? It makes my life a hell of a lot easier. Look what the fuck Brody King was doing. Well, I talked to Tony Khan backstage, and he said, you know what, yeah, we're going to give you a title shot right now. Come on, bro. Get off your big ass and earn it. I'm sorry. Get off your ass and earn it. I'm sick of that bullshit, man. Oh, well, I talked to Tony Khan, and, after 4 White Claws in deep, Tony Khan was like, hey, you know what? Let's give you a title shot, pal. Get the fuck out of here, man. Are you serious? Get off your ass and fucking earn it. I'm sick of that bullshit, man. I am. I'm sick of that shit. I am. That shit fucking pisses me the fuck off. Oh, well, he's a top competitor, top challenger. What the fuck has he done? What has he done? I respect the hell out of Roosh, but what the fuck has Roosh done to convince me that he's a number one contender? You're facing off against jobber and enhancement talent, local talent. And beating them under, 3 minutes? Yeah, because they're enhancement talent. Those talent are there for you to compete against to make yourself look good. You know what's going to convince me? Is if you go into a match today against Samoa Joe or Swerve or Andrade, and you beat those goddamn guys under 5 minutes. Then you convince me to a point where, holy shit, man, Roosh ain't bullshitting. Not jobber enhancement talent, man. Get the fuck out of here. And I'm supposed to be convinced that because you beat enhancement talent and jobbers, that automatically qualifies you to an opportunity at the AEW World title? Come on, man. Come on. I mean, I said this shit about Tony Khan after Double or Nothing. You go from being Mr. Pay-Per-View to Mr. Pure Ass Lazy, bro. You're booking this shit the day of. Get off your ass and write the show. Seriously. I don't fucking get it, man. I don't. They have the talent. They got an abundance of fucking talent. Write some fucking story. Make some logic. Make some sense. You'll have people that are also other podcasters. I'm not going to name who they are, but they know who they are. That say, oh, well, at least Roosh has been on the show. He's been showcased on the show. Doing fucking what, bro? Facing off against jobbers, enhancement talent? Well, at least he's on the show, man. Yeah. That's like saying somebody back in catering stuffing down a chicken parm sandwich. Hey, you want an opportunity at the title? Let's get your ass out in the ring and let's get you that title shot, buddy. Come on, bro. Wake the fuck up. Earn the title shot. Tired of shit, people just handing out shit. Fucking earn it. Fucking earn it. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, I talked to Tony Khan, and, we had a couple White Claws together, and he's like, let's give you a title shot, pal. Like, come on, man. What the fuck is this shit? Seriously. What is this bullshit? And as a fan, you're supposed to be convinced, hey, that guy's number one contender. What the fuck have you done? What have you done to convince me that you're worthy to be a number one contender? What have you done? Besides sitting your ass back in catering doing jack shit. Come on, bro. And my thing is with Roosh, I respect the hell out of Roosh, but you were pushing this guy, and you couldn't find nobody? The reason why they couldn't find nobody is because half the top contenders that were in AEW are in the goddamn Owen. Swerve, Brody, Ospreay, Joe. Adam Page came and challenged for the AEW World title anymore. And Page is off the scene. Ever since he lost to MJF, his ass is gone. No Jay White. We don't know if Adam Cole is ever going to come back and wrestle again. Keith Lee's been out seemingly for almost 3 fucking years? 2 years? Wardlow still, Wardlow's supposed to be a Double or Nothing. Wardlow was here. Where the fuck is Wardlow? What the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing? Jesus Christ, man. Have Roosh go up against Okada or Takeshita. Kyle Fletcher's back. Have Roosh versus Kyle Fletcher. Convince me that this guy is championship worthy against guys that are top talents for this company. Convince me, bro. Not have him go up against jobbers and enhancement talent and say, hey, you know what? You got 5 wins under your belt against jobbers. We're going to give you a title shot, pal. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ, man. Fuck are we doing here? What are we doing? It's lazy ass booking. Get off your ass and write a fucking show, man. Seriously. I mean, hell, look at the Don Callis family. Don Callis family is looking exactly like the NWO, for Christ's sake. Holy shit. Jesus Christ, man. I don't know. I've been watching wrestling for a long time, folks. I've seen the goods and the bads and the highs and the lows. And Jesus fucking Christ. Like, the show is just so fucking boring. It's boring. Logic gaps out the wazoo. Nothing fucking makes sense. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. I don't know. I really don't know. And honestly, it's fucking frustrating as all hell because you'll hear the same shit everywhere. I want a title shot. I want a fucking title shot. I want a title shot. I want a title shot. Hey, by the way, I want a fucking title shot. Shut the fuck up. Earn it. Well, talk to Tony Khan. Give me a fucking title shot. We were backstage, had a couple White Claws and shit, had a couple coffee and shit. We're bullshitting backstage. I came up with the wild idea to ask Tony Khan for a title shot, and Tony Khan said, hey, you know what? Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let me go back here and write this shit down on my pen and paper. Let me see if I can throw it against the wall and hope that idea will stick. And if it does, we'll give you that opportunity tonight, my friend. What the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, it's just, Jesus, God, man. Holy shit, bro. God. Oh, Jesus. God, man. I've seen more organization and shit put together better at a fucking grocery store than I'm seeing on AEW television, bro. It is a fucking mess. Seriously, man. This shit is all over the fucking place. Seriously. And the problem is like Tony Khan, oh yeah, we'll do that because Tony Khan doesn't have any no numption to say like, hey, no, we need you to earn it. No, because Tony Khan wants to be these people's best fucking friend. Be a boss. Tell them no. You got Brody King lobbying outside the door, bing, 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 knocking on the fucking door. Hey, Mr. Tony Khan, hey man, how you doing? You got a couple minutes? You mind if I talk to you about an AEW World Title opportunity against MJF? I ain't doing nothing else. Yeah, sure, Brody. We'll give you an opportunity at the title, man. We'll give me a couple days and I'll figure some shit out. Come on, bro. Earn it. Fucking earn it. Stop trying to fucking lobby Tony Khan for an opportunity or stop saying, hey, man, I'm calling out MJF. What the fuck have you done? What have you done? Briscoe's calling out MJF. What have you done, bro? What, you beating Leo Rush and Tommaso Ciampa? And you're talking about a rematch that happened, 8-9 months ago? Y'all had plenty of time to run that shit back. Plenty of fucking time. Oh, I did beat you in the tables and tax match. I think I deserve an opportunity at the rematch against MJF. Come on, man. Come on. Jesus Christ, bro. And the fact of the matter is, honestly, if we're being 100% transparent with each other, the reason why Briscoe is in the conversation right now is being a challenger to MJF is because there is no fucking anybody. There's nobody else. There's nobody else. Everybody else is in the goddamn Owen. Joe is taking some time off. He's taking a hiatus. He's going back to Hollywood to, renewing Metal Gear Solid, or not Metal Gear Solid, but Twisted Metal, Season 3. And he plays in that show. So Joe's taking a hiatus. Swerve's in the Owen. Brody King's in the Owen. Ospreay's in the Owen. Adam Page is out. Hell, Adam Page has been out since he lost the belt. Darby Allin's out. He's gone, thank Christ. Who's left? You have nobody else, so you have to bring in guys like Mark Briscoe because you think these are top guys in the company. You got nobody else, man. Nobody else. It's a fucking joke. It's a joke. Nothing makes sense, man. Nothing fucking makes sense. But I'm supposed to be convinced that these are top guys, top challengers, top competitors for the AEW World Title. Man, give me a fucking break, bro. What have you done? What have you done that's going to convince me that you are worthy to be a number one contender? Because you beating jobbers and enhancement talent or talking to Tony Khan for an opportunity at the AEW World Title don't mean jack shit to me. Nothing. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? The only thing that came out of this show to me, in my honest opinion, besides, I would say, the two matches, the only thing that actually made sense or was at least cool was, to me, in my opinion, Don Callis and Kevin Knight. They recruited Kevin Knight to be in the Don Callis family. Great. He's a heel. That's a heel faction. It's only going to hopefully improve Kevin Knight if they utilize him correctly. And hopefully don't sit him in the back, in the back and do nothing. Utilize the guy. Build from this. Make this guy into a superstar. And hopefully they do that. The Ospreay and Davis match was great, but it was an overbooked fucking mess. Death Riders, Don Callis family, Fletcher and Takeshita. Shit was all over the fucking place. I mean, Christ, bro. Will Ospreay just came back from neck surgery. How many times did Davis had to drop this guy on his fucking head with a pile driver, for Christ's sake? Jesus Christ. And then you're kicking out of this shit. Non-stop. Hidden Blaze, kicked out. Pile drivers, kicked out. I mean, it's just, holy shit. It was like an episode of, it's like playing WWE 2K26, for Christ's sake. Jesus Christ. It was an overbooked mess. You should have put it in the beginning of the show and had MJF defend the title in the main event because he represents AEW as the AEW World Champion. So, I don't know, guys. To me, it's just, I try to find the positives of this show. I really do. I really do. But at times, it's absolutely fucking frustrating to find the positives, man, because this show is so fucking boring. And it's just, there's logic gaps out the wazoo, man. There's shit I don't understand. I don't get. Everybody and their grandmother is lobbying for a fucking title shot that haven't done jack shit to get the goddamn title shot. It's a fucking joke, man. Fucking earn it. Get off your asses and earn it. I'm sick of that shit, bro. I really am. That shit is starting to really piss me off, man. Really. Oh, I talked to Tony Khan and he gave me an opportunity at the AEW World title. What you think? I'll tell you what I think. I think it's fucking hot garbage. I think it's fucking bullshit. Hot garbage. I think you should get off your ass and earn it. Fucking wrestle somebody that's a top worthy competitor and a challenger to convince me that you beat this guy and convince me that you're number one contender. Because you just saying a bunch of bullshit don't mean jack shit. Don't mean a goddamn thing to me. Oh, well, I wrestled this guy and I wrestled Ciampa and I wrestled Lio Rush. Two guys that are not even sniffing the fucking AEW title. Ciampa's dealing with Jericho and Lio Rush. The only thing that's improved about Lio Rush is a character change. He's more sinister now. That's it. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Whoop-de-do. Because honestly, not for nothing, if he didn't do that, he probably still wouldn't even have a fucking job with AEW at this point. If we're going to keep it a buck. Where's Action Andretti at? Injured? Sitting on his ass? Is he even employed still with the company? Who fucking knows? And that's the other problem. You got talent out there that people don't even know that are even employed with this company. Look at the situation with Willie Mack. Some people don't even realize Willie Mack is even tied to an AEW contract or a Ring of Honor contract. Why? Because you don't even see the goddamn guy compete. You see him wrestling everywhere else on the indies except for AEW or Ring of Honor. Jesus Christ, man. Where the fuck is Britt Baker? You could have had Baker showed up in Virginia to be the mystery opponent to Alex Windsor. Where is Baker? I'll tell you where she's at. Guantanamo Bay. That's where she's at. AEW Purgatory. Just like how Ray Phoenix was and Ricky Saints and all this shit. Or Ricky Starks. All that shit. Penta, Phoenix, Starks, Wardlow. AEW Purgatory, man. Tony Khan's Guantanamo Bay. That's where she's at. Meanwhile, you can see her ass at the goddamn NFL draft, standing there in the crowd with everybody else, rooting on for the Pittsburgh Steelers like ain't nothing wrong with it. She ain't injured. Baker ain't doing shit. She's over there having sodas and beers and all this other shit in Pittsburgh for the NFL draft. She ain't hurt. You think she's going to show her ass up to work? Hell no. Hell no. Because she's in Guantanamo Bay because her and Tony Khan had a falling out. That's lasted, what, 2 fucking years now? A year? Year and a half? Come on, bro. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Drink another White Claw, you dumbass. I mean, it's like, come on, bro. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? That just, man, Jesus Christ. Ugh, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think Tony Khan at times is fucking delusional, man. I'm sorry. To me, the shit doesn't make sense. I feel like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. Something ain't clicking. That's all I can say. Something ain't working. It's just not. We all know that he's Mr. Pay-Per-View, bro, but when it comes to the weekly episodic television, whether it's Dynamite or Collision, he goes from Mr. Pay-Per-View to Mr. Lazy. Absolutely fucking lazy. And it shows week in and week out, whether it's Dynamite or Collision. And the fucked up thing about it is, bro, is if Dynamite actually told a story right now that made sense, they'd be firing on all cylinders right now because it's not like WWE's doing so hot either. Raw's taking a big shit. SmackDown shit and boring. These PLEs for WWE are absolute shit as well. 3 matches for a PLE, and you're charging people $30 for 3 goddamn matches on a PLE. Come on, bro. I already talked about this for my Clash in Italy review. It's bullshit too. It's like, Jesus Christ, bro. By now we got the picture. Now we know that you do all your work for pay-per-views, and start putting that shit into the weekly episodic television as well to get the fans invested and wanting to spend money for these pay-per-views when you're putting on 14 fucking matches per pay-per-view. Let's do something. Get the fans invested. Get us excited. Something. So, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, it's Dynamite. You kind of try to find the best of it that you can, or try to find anything out of it that you enjoy. I think the only thing that I enjoyed out of the entire show last night probably was Kevin Knight being added as the newest member to the Don Callis family, in my honest opinion. The Roosh match against MJF, it wasn't bad, but it shouldn't have been opening the night. It should have been the main event. And yeah, the Davis and Ospreay match wasn't bad either. It was just overbooked slop, man. This shit was all over the place. Wasn't needed at all. But with that being said, though, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.